Before I tell you what happened, let me ask you something. Have you ever been sitting at a table with people who are supposed to be your family? People who share your last name, your blood, your house, and somehow you still feel like you're just visiting? Like everybody else belongs there, except you. Yeah, that was basically my entire childhood. My name is Tori Bennett. I'm 23 years old now. But 5 years ago, I walked out of my parents' house with exactly $320, a backpack, and a feeling in my chest that said if I stayed there one more day, I'd never become the person I was supposed to be. I didn't slam the door. I didn't scream. I didn't give them the dramatic movie scene people expect. I just left. Quietly. Because sometimes the loudest decision you ever make is the one you make without saying a word. But to understand why I left, you need to know what life inside that house felt like. From the outside, our house looked perfect. 2 stories, white porch, neatly cut lawn. My dad loved appearances. If a stranger drove down our street, they'd probably think we were one of those picture-perfect families you see in holiday catalogs. But inside that house, everything revolved around one person. My brother, Logan Bennett. Logan was the golden child, the star, the future, the kid my dad talked about like he was destined to cure cancer or run the country someday. If Logan got a B on a test, my dad would say the teacher must be an idiot. If I got an A, my dad would raise an eyebrow and say, didn't expect that. Little comments like that, small enough to sound harmless. But when you hear them your entire life, they start to stick. They start to shape the way you see yourself. Logan played football, baseball, basketball. My dad drove him to tournaments in 3 different states like he was transporting the next professional athlete. Me? I stayed home with my mom doing laundry, cooking dinner, helping clean up. And whenever someone asked what I liked doing, I'd say drawing, because drawing was the one thing that made me feel like I existed. I could sit for hours sketching buildings, rooms, spaces that didn't exist yet. My art teacher once told me I had a natural eye for design. She even suggested I look into architecture someday. I brought the brochure home, left it on the kitchen counter. My dad glanced at it for maybe 3 seconds. Then he slid it back across the counter like it was junk mail. Drawing isn't a career, he said. It's a hobby. That was the moment I understood something about my father. If my dream wasn't his idea, it didn't count. But there was one person in my life who never made me feel small. My grandma. Grandma Ruth. She ran a tiny sewing shop out of her garage for almost 40 years. Nothing fancy, just alterations, hems, wedding dresses sometimes. But she had this way of looking at you when you talked, like the rest of the world paused for a minute, like your words actually mattered. When I showed her my sketches, she didn't laugh. She didn't call them hobbies. She studied them. Then she smiled and said something I never forgot. Kiddo, your hands and your brain are tools nobody can take from you. I didn't realize how important that sentence would become. Not yet. When I turned 16, Grandma Ruth got sick. Cancer. Fast. The kind that doesn't give families time to pretend everything will be okay. I visited her in the hospital a week before she passed. She squeezed my hand and whispered something that confused me at the time. I left something for you, she said. Something small, but it's yours. After the funeral, I found a little wooden box she'd left behind for me. Inside were her sewing tools, a tape measure, some needles, and a folded piece of paper with a lawyer's name and phone number written on it. I tucked it into my wallet and forgot about it. Because at 16, you don't think about lawyers or trusts or money. You just miss your grandma. 2 years later, everything blew up. It was a Sunday morning. I remember the smell of coffee, the sunlight hitting the kitchen table, the sound of my brother tapping his phone while my dad read something printed out. Then my dad said those words, "I've made a decision." The tone alone told me this wasn't a conversation. It was an announcement. He explained that Logan wanted to start a business after college, something big, something with potential, and businesses need capital. My stomach tightened when he said the next part. You both have college funds, he continued, but Logan needs the investment more. I blinked. More? He nodded calmly. Yes, you're creative, but you should learn something practical, maybe a trade. Then he said it, like he was discussing the weather. I'm transferring your fund to Logan. Just like that. $170,000. The money my grandparents had been saving since the day I was born.
Gone. Given to my brother. I looked at my mom. She stood by the sink. staring at the floor. Silent. That silence hurt more than my father's decision, because it told me something. Nobody in that house was coming to my defense. So I said the only thing I could say without breaking. Okay. Then I went upstairs, packed a backpack, and 2 days later, after graduating high school, I left. The first months on my own were ugly. No inspirational music, no movie montage, just long hours, cheap rent, and fear. I worked at a coffee shop during the day and took community college classes at night. Some weeks I slept 4 hours a night, but I kept going. Because every time I thought about quitting, I heard my dad's voice in my head. You don't have real potential. That sentence became fuel. Then one night, digging through my bag, I found that folded paper from my grandma again. The lawyer's number. I called it. Turns out my grandma had set up a small trust for me. $12,000. Not life-changing money, but it felt like oxygen, because someone believed in me enough to plan ahead. That $12,000 paid for my tuition, my computer, my design software. And the rest, I built the hard way. Late nights, freelance jobs, rejected proposals. Years passed. Eventually, I met someone who changed everything. Maggie. She ran a small design studio. When she saw my work, she said something that shocked me. You're not a beginner, she told me. You just haven't been given the chance yet. She hired me, not out of pity, because my work was good. That job turned into a partnership. That partnership turned into a company. And 5 years after I walked out of my parents' house, I was sitting in my office on the 14th floor of a building downtown. 40 employees, clients across the state, my name on the glass door. That morning, my assistant buzzed my office. There are 3 people in the lobby, she said carefully. They say they're family. My heart dropped. 5 years of silence. And now they were here. My parents. And my brother. They walked into my conference room looking like strangers who accidentally entered the wrong building. My dad tried to act confident, but I could see the shock in his eyes, because the girl who didn't have potential now owned the room he was standing in. My brother eventually asked if I could help him financially. Turns out the business he built with my college fund collapsed. Debt. No degree. No plan. I looked at him. Then I said one word. No. Not out of revenge. Out of boundaries. Because sometimes the most powerful thing you can say to someone who took everything from you is simply no. They left that day with nothing, and I stayed in the room I built from scratch. A few weeks later, I stood on a stage accepting a Young Entrepreneur Award. 300 people in the audience. I thanked my mentor, my teachers, and my grandma. The woman who left me $12,000 and one sentence that changed my life. Your hands and your brain are tools nobody can take from you. That sentence built everything. So if you're watching this right now, and someone in your life has convinced you that you're not enough, that your dream is stupid, that you should settle for less, listen carefully.
They're not the ones who decide your potential. You are. The moment you stop waiting for their approval and start building anyway, that's the moment your life actually begins. If this story meant something to you, hit the like button so more people hear it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if someone ever told you that you couldn't make it, drop your story in the comments. Because somewhere out there, someone else is sitting at a kitchen table right now, hearing the same words. And your story might be the reason they stand up, pack their bag, and walk out the door toward the life they deserve. I'll see you in the next one.